My wife is furious I didn't defend her honor when people talked openly about her past.
How dare you not defend my honor?
How dare you? I'm at a loss here. We've been married just under 2 years. We've been together for a little over 3 years. Our mutual friend set us up on a date, and we've been together ever since. We have vastly different backgrounds, and honestly, we are even different over some values. Nothing huge or anything that makes me think differently of her, but they are there. By the way, this comes from No Honor 23, and if you have some honor and a story, send it to r/OK Storytime subreddit.
That's right, but only if you have the prerequisite honor. Or not, honestly.
Or not. You can just send us whatever. I've had a couple of previous girlfriends that have lasted for a good length of time each, and I dated a few other girls over the years, but nothing ever came of them. She, on the other hand, was wild. Her words, not mine. And we had a very vast, spicy sleep life. Now, before you think this is another one of these posts where the guy can't get over his wife's past, let me put an end to that, okay? I knew about it before we got married, and I understood that we were just different about that. We were just different. It's no big deal as long as it was in the past. The only time it ever became an issue was when I found out the guy who was both of our friends who set us up was a previous lover of hers. That made me feel weird for some reason, but that's all it was, and I never said a word about it to her. Well, anyways, this past weekend, we attended a party that was held by one of her friends. And while we were there, the booze was flowing freely, which usually is never a good thing. And a group of guys were talking about how macho they were because they had bedded so many women and were doing the usual BS.
Yeah. That's my translation of a bunch of guys talking.
Then the two of them started talking about this one woman that they did within an hour of each other. And they started talking about how she was there that night and was betting they could get her to do both of them at the same time.
Oh, these people are gross. That's gross.
Spicy talk.
It's a gross thing to...
Holy jeebers.
Yeah.
It was at this time that another guy who was also a friend of mine recognized that it was my wife these two were talking about. And he jumped in trying to change the conversation. Oh, man. However, I figured it out and just decided the best thing to do was to walk away. Obviously, after I left, my friend told them that I was the husband, and well, the two both snickered at that, and then the group broke up.
All right, pause. If your wife's mad because she found out you walked away after hearing that, your wife's right. Sorry, buddy. You need to at least walk over and give them a piece of your mind. You need to fight with your mind.
Yeah, with your head.
Say something that will wreck them for years to come.
Give him some head, piece of this.
God, just give him a good old dose of head.
Right there.
From you.
Mm-hmm. Head, butt.
Boop. Head juice.
Excuse me?
You heard exactly what I said.
I go get a drink and figure that I will just hang there somewhere quiet till she is ready to leave. I see her sitting with a group of her female friends, and she seems to be having a good time. So I find a TV, plop down to watch whatever is on, and about a half an hour later, she comes to me and tells me that she is ready to go, and I could tell by her voice that she was pissed. As we drive home, she doesn't say a word. I ask her if she had a good time, and she just glared at me.
Yeah, she'd be like, I would have had a good time if my freaking boyfriend had a spine. That's sick. Or my husband.
Why don't you give him some head? Piece of your mind.
If my husband would have given some head at the
piece of his freaking mind. So when we get to the house, she erupts in anger at me. Our friend went and told her what was said and that I walked away. She was pissed at me for letting them say these things about her. She was pissed because I let them humiliate her, and she was pissed because I wasn't. Talking with her at this point was going to do no good as she was just livid. I just told her we could talk when she calmed down. That was early Sunday morning, and she is refusing to talk to me now at all, other than to tell me what time she would be home from work or some issues. Our car. I was planning on taking her tonight when she gets home, but I'm not sure what to say or where to go with this. I mean, maybe I was wrong for walking away, but I just didn't think challenging two guys to a fisticuffs, bing, 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 a bing, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, bam.
But you see, you're not. You don't have to do that.
No.
You can walk up to them and make them... So you're outing yourself right now that you don't have a lot of brain juice going on.
Uh-oh.
Because I got to say, if I had a wife and I heard two goons at a party saying how they were going to, get with her at the same time, I would certainly say something.
Yeah, it's like, yo.
I wouldn't walk over there and just go pop, bam. I'd be like, words.
Yeah,
right.
I also think it's good and helpful to know like what would the wife want in this. There's like what the wife wants in the scenario. We didn't know beforehand. One can only hope that you know your partner well enough to know, what she would want, and so doing that for her. And then there's also what you
feel is right. What do you feel is right?
So because I could also see a scenario where the partner's like, hey, I don't want you going up to them and making that a bigger deal. And then in that case, do we respect the partner's wishes of that in that specific scenario?
Or you could be
different people have different.
You could be a real G and move in silence like lasagna and just start plotting. Make a plot, make a plan, make a scheme, serve them their comeuppance. Nothing illegal, nothing that would make you end up in a cell of some kind.
Yeah.
Just begin your plot.
Wow.
Could
be done.
And actually, you could tell your wife, you could be like, babe, I'm plotting. Don't worry, they're not getting away with that. Plotting.
Something's coming.
Scheming.
So Opie says, I would have made a scene and it would have been nothing but drama. So I just thought removing myself was the best option. I guess I was wrong there, or was I? ? I didn't even know who they were talking about until my friend made it obvious he was trying to change the subject. What should I have said or done? For that matter, why am I at fault here? Heck, I'm the one who had to hear about these two that shared my wife before she was my wife. Like she was a party favor, so it wasn't all fun and games for me either.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, I missed that. I thought they were being like, oh, this is what we would. They're saying, hey, remember when we did do that?
This is they're talking about the past.
Oh, okay.
They were saying like, and also to be clear, not that this makes it any better, they didn't know it was Opie's wife when they were saying it, and then dude number 3 is like, yo, that's Opie's wife, like, yo, chill. But then they still kind of snickered, like, kind of like, ha, 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 like, we got you.
That's that. Well, erase everything I've said. Everything I've said is completely irrelevant now because the context was not right in my brain.
Well,
in my smooth brain.
I think like what is something that's very fair going up to those guys and it's like, hey, would you talk to your sister about like your sister like that? Like show some respect. Come on.
Dude, they're just going to dunk on you for that, bro. They're turned up at a party. You come over walking, would you talk to your sister like that? I'd be like, I mean, I wouldn't. But like, if I was in character as these goons,
if you're playing the character,
I would now direct all of my goon energy to the guy who was like, "Would you say that about your sister?" I'd be like, "What are you? Are you my sister?" Like, I don't know. I would.
It could go back, but at least that's like you being like, you got no respect.
That really. Oh, yeah.
But I think again,
like I said, erase everything I said. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not. That's.
I think there's a scenario again because like I do think there are, and not to sidetrack too much, but I think in these scenarios, people are always asking like, what is right, what is wrong, like as this like blanket, like what is this like universal law? I think it's more like what's right and wrong in the context of your relationship.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's what really matters here.
Yeah. So if like the partner is like, hey, I'd actually rather you not make a big deal because that would make me more uncomfortable, whatever. Hey, doing that. If your partner wants you to, I don't know, it's kind of tough because then it's like, does she want you to get into like actually get into a confrontation? I think we'll learn more of what Opie's wife was feeling here, but yeah. We'll keep going.
The point that I'm reframing it in my head, and I think now it's like one. I just don't want to keep yapping, but if her past makes her uncomfortable, that's her problem. But if OP didn't know about her past and he just heard that for the first time,
he knows.
Yeah, so you already know. But also, when you hear that OP, you should have something to say. You can't just be like completely silent about it. You say something back. Have your wife's back. Guys are bragging about treating her like a piece of meat. Do something. Say something.
Well, I feel like with these guys, they're just gonna like triple down. Like they're just gonna get in your face about it, and that's just to make it's gonna get hostile. I don't know. Like I would say something, but
yeah,
it's such a fine. I don't know. It's like a fine line.
It is a fine line. I think
I would say something. I'm like, hey, that's not cool, or like, hey, shut up. But like, then you open that can of worms because those guys are like, yeah, what do you do about it? You know what we did? And you're like, oh,
here we go.
That's when you plot in silence.
What does that mean?
You don't do anything
we don't need
that's
to plot
illegal.
in silence.
Plot in silence. You don't do anything illegal.
But anyways, let's get back to the story. So I knew about her past and could live with it, but it's another thing to be smacked in the face with it. Any advice would be appreciated here. And there is an update, but we're going to dive right in. Things didn't go well, and now roles are reversed. Uh-oh. What kind of role reversal?
Roles are reversed?
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
We'll see. First of all, I tried to talk to her that night when she got home from work. She was late, but that is not a big deal, and I knew that she was going to be late. Normally, she will come in, grab her food, and come sit in the living room with me or watch TV or something while she eats dinner. But instead, she walked in, grabbed her food, and walked straight back to the computer room without saying a word to me. I let it slide, figuring, okay, another night to cool off. She at least said goodnight to me, but that was it. Thursday was just pretty hectic for both of us, and her family was over, pre-scheduled, so it wasn't a surprise for me. But after they left, she went immediately to bed. By Friday, I had had enough. So I think we're 3 or 4 days completely silent treatment.
I'm sorry, wife, but I didn't do any of that stuff with those guys. Why are you treating me like that's what I did? Why are you treating me like I did that at the party? That is not what happened.
Yeah, the cold shoulder is very cold.
This is some stuff that knock, knock. You did. Hello? And it's and all of this anger towards OP is because there was no defense of her honor?
Yes, which I think she is being overly harsh on OP.
I'm sorry, wife. That's not a very honorable act. It's okay.
I don't care about
It's all right.
Honestly, I'm like I'm removing the act. I feel like she is giving OP an undue, like, harsh treatment.
It's, yeah, because he was okay with it. Well, except for then he was like, I don't know, it's different being hit in the face with it right in front of me. It's like, but
which is kind of, I think
it's understandable,
fair.
but also, like, own it. That's what I'm saying. Go own it. You have to be able to own what you have done. And as the husband, you need to own it too.
Yeah, because it's like, I guess one could say self-acceptance is like, okay, yeah, they're being a-holes, but like, that's me. Like, hey, we out here.
I don't know. You even just say something like, dang, so you guys remember that? Like, that was probably the best moment of your lives, huh?
Like
hey,
that.
well, she doesn't even remember you guys. I don't know. They're like, yes, I think that's a pretty good comeback. Being like, literally the peak of your life was having spicy sleep with my current wife.
Yes.
Before we were married. Great. Happy for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm married to that.
There you go.
So, whatever.
Have fun with your lives, guys. Being sad and lonely.
Anything.
And do we agree? It seems she's being at least not as communicative as she should be, and then at most maybe like too harsh towards OP.
Yeah,
right
I don't think if she was right next to him and it happened, that's one thing. She wasn't, right?
She wasn't.
She heard about this later.
She heard about it later.
So that's another layer of like, why are you this
That is
mad?
true.
You literally, it's not like they said that to your. Now that's a different story.
Yes, that is a whole.
If the wife is there and they're talking to her face like that,
yes.
Now we are all
I
getting
agree.
the police involved.
I agree.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Agreed.
But hey, sometimes you run your mouth, you find out.
That's right. But by Friday, I had enough. I got home after her. I worked late on Fridays, and sure enough, she was already secluded in the computer room. I walked in and asked if we could talk, and she gave me a disgusted look and said, "What is there to talk about?" And that is when I said I wanted to talk about the party and the fallout from it. I then walked back into the living room thinking that she was going to follow me. I sat down only to find myself sitting there for several minutes all by myself. I was getting pissed by this time and marched in there and said that I wanted to either talk about this or do something else, but I was not going on living like this. She finally gets up and comes out and then sits first. I first off try to say that I was sorry for my actions, or lack thereof in this case, and that I really wanted her to tell me how she would have liked me to handle it and what should I do if I ever have to deal with something like this again. Communicating.
Yeah, we need more communication.
I think we're starting off good. Hey, my bad for not doing this way. How can I be better in the future?
I'm starting to question the root of all of this. I'm starting to even question the nature of the conversation that these two guys were having when they were like, "Do you remember?" And it's like,
because again, remember
they didn't
know that it was his wife. They had no,
yeah.
And they did snicker, like kind of like, oh, like okay, yeah, we got him a little bit, but then they did stop talking.
You know
about
what
it
people
afterwards.
do when they get uncomfortable? A lot of people laugh, right? It's an uncomfortable thing to find out you were just talking about having a ménage à trois with someone else's wife who's standing right next to you. But again, OP could have had a great moment to be like, to drop the bombshell there and be like, hey, that's a funny story about my wife. And then they'd all go, ooh. I feel like if that happened, they go, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Yes. Right.
And then it's a completely different story.
That's true. I
But
think,
yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to think that there wasn't even any malice at the beginning of this. It's just coincidence.
I don't think there was any malice. I think maybe once they realized I feel like the snicker might have been like, got you. But it was like very low key, and then they like shut it down after that. And also friend number 3 was like, yo, like, cut that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I still think he should have gone up and been like, yo, guys, haha, very funny. That's my wife. Let's show some respect and decorum, shall we?
Needed to say something.
Gentlemen.
My brain is becoming Twin Peaks. It's just everything is not what it seems.
First, she informs me that there won't be another chance to do this again, as we won't be attending any more parties of her friends because she doesn't feel like she can show her face. I ask her why she is embarrassed to go. This is where things went from bad to worse. I'm expecting her to give the "you don't have to apologize for your past" speech, thinking that she was embarrassed by the two guys talking about her. But no, instead, this is what she tells me. She was not embarrassed to go. She was embarrassed for me to go with her. I came across as less of a man, and she was ashamed of the way I behaved in that moment.
Oh, okay. So dump her. Yeah, dump her. She's trash. Dump her. She wanted you to what? Get a felony for her? She wanted you to start a physical altercation over something that she did, which, by the way, there was no party of three. They were talking about how it was like one of them got with her, and then that same night another compatriot.
Not even in that group, just another
Right, it was
person.
like two people are like, oh, it was same night, yeah, oh, and it's like,
which still disrespectful, but yeah.
Nah, her being like, I'm embarrassed to be seen with you, be like, dang, I've got a great solution for that. You'll never have to be seen with me again.
Oh,
I'm leaving you right where you are right now.
At first, I was stunned. I just sat there. But then all I could sputter out was, what should I have done? She literally wanted me to give the old 1-2 diddly-do to these guys. Okay? I mean, an actual fisticuffs. Okay?
She wanted the bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam.
Type of thing that you wouldn't understand. I'll let you in on a secret. I've never been in a fisticuffs in my life. I've either been able to talk my way out of it or avoid those situations. I don't know if I could have fought either one of those guys to a standstill, let alone 2-on-1. I sat there in a stunned silence for a good while. Then I asked how that would have helped anything at all. And she said it would have proven that I cared enough to stand up for her.
See, now this would be the moment where you go, hey, so I'll fight those guys the same moment that you build a time machine, you go back in time and you stop yourself from hooking up with those two dudes in the same night.
I'm not even saying that, but
yeah, no,
she's bugging out.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's no universe in which I'm going to just fight two random guys for you over something that you did.
Yeah.
They're not lying. They're not saying it to your face.
And they didn't even know that OP was there, or like, you know, and they did stop after the other friend told them to, like.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Crazy.
I tried to explain that I had no idea who they were talking about for the entire time until the very end. And they were talking about several women, not just her. I said that I didn't want to make a scene at her friend's party and thought that it would have made us look bad if I wanted to fight her friends, which is fair. This rolled off her like water off a duck. So then I said one thing I probably shouldn't have, but in retrospect, I'd probably say it again. I just asked, why the heck should I have been wanting to
bing, bop, boom, bam,
bing, bop, boom, bam,
bing, bop, boom
on somebody if what they were saying was true? They didn't know she was married when they said all that. They thought that she would still do it. And at the time, I didn't even know who they were talking about. Again, OP didn't realize who it was until the end of the conversation, which I believe, frankly. This was when she goes off of me saying she knew her past was going to be used against her.
Hey, that's not what's happening, girl. You are internalizing all of that shame and projecting it onto your husband and the people around you. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
He hasn't really mentioned it once. And we've seen a lot of situations where that was the case. I don't think this is one. I honestly don't.
He doesn't care at all.
I honestly don't. He was cool.
He cares that you wanted him to, like, go to jail over this.
True.
You did it. You did it. Why do I have to pay for it? You did it.
Oh, baby. I said I sure as heck wasn't using it now, and if she didn't want me to break the law and bing bop bam someone, I wouldn't even be talking about it now. She got pissed, but by this time, I was pissed myself. I felt like I was put into a no-win situation and that she didn't care enough about me to care about whether or not I would get hurt or arrested over something that I didn't care about. She could tell at this point that I was pissed as well, so we both agreed to just leave it sit for a few days. The weekend wasn't much better, and honestly, I think both of us are reevaluating our relationship. Could I have or should I have said something to the guys? Maybe. I am still not sure about it. I don't know what I would have said without it becoming a big deal, but I truly am upset that she was so upset about it and that she doesn't want me around her friends. And she said that she didn't care about my physical well-being. And we have an update number 2.
No, husband, I don't care about your physical well-being.
Nope. Well, bing, bop, boom, bam. You need to understand.
Hey,
that's what I want.
I think I'm going to make you my not wife.
Oh. So update number 2. I have made repeated attempts to talk with her, offered and suggested that we should go to counseling together, and in the end, all has fallen on deaf ears. I'm not going to live like this. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have done or said something else or anything, but in the end, I didn't. I thought I was doing the right thing, but apparently I was being a coward in her mind, and she sees me as less of a man for it. Well, sadly, this whole episode has now made me see her in a whole new light as well. She honestly would have rather had me end up in jail, the hospital, or eternal sleep as opposed to what I ended up doing. I will not spend the rest of my life with someone who doesn't think I'm man enough because I didn't confront 2 of her previous spicy sleep partners, or worse, in my opinion, doesn't give a real crap one way or another about my well-being. I know she feels the same way from her point of view. I feel bad because I never wanted to be that guy who is divorced, but honestly, I think this is a breaking point for the both of us. I'm already staying at my parents' till we decide on how to split stuff up. Thank God we never had children. And editing in some info. Obviously, my inbox was blown up over this, so there's just no way I can answer everyone individually, so I'm just going to throw out some info here to kind of set the record straight. Number 1, no. She has never demanded anything before that was unreasonable. She has a hot temper, but up until now has never been able to get over something and move on. Number 2, no, I had no idea that she had slept with these 2 guys within an hour of each other. So actually, the 2 guys were there. It was guy number 1. And
I'm saying it wasn't simultaneous.
It wasn't simultaneous. That is true. It was an hour apart. She told me she had a wild past, asked me if I wanted the details, and I declined. My only stipulation about it was that it had to be in the past, as in the moment she and I became exclusive, it could never happen outside of us in a relationship.
Whoa,
Again,
wait a minute. So this is also your fault, buddy. She's like, I got a past. You want to hear it? And you go, nope. That's not how relationships work, dude. I mean, when they're like serious, long-term, committed relationships, it's like, yeah, you should know about your partner's past.
No, I don't think so fully. Like, if they want to talk about, like, there's some things like I want you for you and not about your past.
And
yeah, I mean,
there's some things like there's some details that you should include, like, oh, you did like that's like an important thing, but like I don't think that's important to OP's wife until now.
I feel like it's another gray area one, but I think there is like a middle ground where it's like, hey, look, I had a wild past. I was out in these streets getting in these sheets. I'm happy to tell you more if you want, but like I just wanted you to know, like I want to have someone who's okay with that being my past.
Sure.
And if the person is like, okay, I can internally clock, I know that she's out, I don't know the details, maybe that's too much for me, but in general, I feel like ideally, I guess you do know that's like the perfect scenario, but
yeah, it's just more about like just knowing your partner. It's not even about like being able to hold them, be like, well, remember when you did this? It's more just like, well, like, I don't know, if I'm going to be married to somebody for the rest of my life, it's like, yeah, I think we should know.
Let me ask you this.
As like pretty much everything about each other at that point, right? Like if we're committed to spending our lives together.
Yeah. Are you saying in the sense of like, because it's like just in conversation, like old stories or old people you've dated, like that, like kind of comes up that way. Versus like, all right, let me sit down and just like tell you every time I freaking.
Yeah, I don't need that.
I mean, it's not like a bulleted list. It's like, it's just, it is what it is. It's like, yeah, that element is like, yeah, I would like to know about that. I don't need the full psychological breakdown of like every moment that happened, but just
what?
like.
I think OP was like, I don't need to hear about that. I love you for you. Like a past is past, but the thing is with the wife, she was very openly honest about it. Like, hey, I did have a past, and it was, like John said, I was a freak in the sheets. Do you want to know about it? As long as the big main point was, are you, free of, can I say 3-letter word?
Spicy sleep.
Well, yeah, just like your spicy sleep diseases, like
spicy disease.
Your spicy diseases. Your spicy diseases. Like, if you like, are you like upfront with that? Are you honest about all of that? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
I don't need to know about the nitty gritty details about everything. And OP said, like, I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
But now this is the thing where it's like, all right, you didn't choose that. Now this is the consequences of you not knowing. You kind of found out, like you got the sheets pulled right onto your feet kind of thing. I think what Duchess says is like, oh, there's going to be people there that I have a history with. But I don't know if she knew that or not. It's one of those things. Like sometimes the world's a small world.
Yeah.
It does happen.
And you never know.
But the way she's reacting is awful. That's not on OP.
Yes.
That's your past. We already talked about it.
She needs their OP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really liked how OP came and he's like, hey, look, I apologize. Tell me, like, help me learn, like, how you would want me to behave in those scenarios. And she just like put down the wall, didn't talk to him for 4 days.
Yep.
Anyways, but I'm gonna keep going here. So, number 4, setting the record straight. No, I was not involved in the conversation. No, I did not know anyone there that night other than my wife and 2 mutual friends, one of which was in that conversation. 5, no, I never factually knew that they were talking about her. I made an assumption that it was her when our friend awkwardly jumped in trying to change the conversation. I did not know for a fact it was her until she came storming at me. 6, no, I don't blame the guy for telling my wife. In my opinion, he wasn't tattling, so to speak. I think he was trying to give her a heads up, believe it or not, for my benefit. And I think he was worried that I was going to be mad at her. Yeah, that's another piece. It's like the guy who went and told OP's wife, right? Because she found out by an external third party going to OP. It was like, oh, I overheard these guys talking
And
about
guys,
you.
let that be a freaking lesson. Sometimes you mind your own business. Mind your business.
Yeah, this is
Like,
this.
what good did you do by going and telling her, yeah, these 2 guys were talking about you in front of your husband. He's probably going to hate you now.
This is like
It's like, shut up.
yeah.
Not your circus, not your monkeys.
What people be saying.
That's what they do be saying
That's
that
what
a
the people
lot.
do be saying. And guys, we have a third and final update, which I'm going to dive into right now. I had said that before my last post was going to be the final update, but I thought I would put out a quick amended update. Divorce in my state was actually painless, easy and quick. Neither of us contested anything, and what assets we had were easy to divide up and no children, so there was literally just some paperwork. Why the update though? Well, not that it mattered to me, but just as I suspected, as soon as we separated, she went back to her old wild ways, quote unquote.
Oh boy.
And has probably been through as many men in the past 3 months as she did before we got together.
Oh, well, that
Her
sounds a little
previous
bitter.
life.
That sounds a little bitter, huh?
It
No.
does, but it's also not a good look, I guess. So
Is this another assumption, though?
it could be.
Is this another assumption,
It
OP?
could- I think OP might be actually more bothered by it than he's letting on. And he didn't realize how bothered he was
I think it's
until
starting to eat at him.
starting to eat at him.
Starting to eat
I think it might be starting to eat
away
at him.
like a little corrosive acid.
Just might be. However, I got a call from her father begging me to reconsider as he felt his daughter was spiraling out of control.
Therapy, dude. She needs
Daddy's like,
therapy.
yo, I've been hearing some stories. And listen,
Yeah.
I liked it better
Hey.
when it was you and her.
Dang, getting a call from the dad, that's next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please.
Yep.
Please.
Also,
I've seen footage. I've heard stories.
I've heard
Please.
the stories. Oh,
Please.
God. Now, I really like him, the dad, and I told him I felt bad for what happened, but after I explained our argument and my stance on how she didn't care about me or my safety, he understood. I agreed with him that she's probably going to have some kind of mental breakdown, but as of this past week, it is officially no longer my problem. By the way, what I didn't tell him was the very vulgar and insulting text messages she sent me, the photos of her with other guys she sent me. I just figure, why make an issue of it?
Dang.
That
See, this guy really
sucks.
is the unbothered guy. Literally,
Kinda
like,
does.
his ex-wife sends him pictures with other dudes, and he's like, hey, what are you going to do? What? She's my ex.
I don't want to put the dad through that.
Why do I
yeah.
care? She's my ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I could send those to your dad, but I won't do that.
But he didn't.
Or,
He
and well,
didn't.
not send him, but like inform him,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. Well, I think it was like just like selfies.
From
Like,
the sound of it,
not
though,
spicy.
Dad's already aware of what's going on.
it sounds like daddy knows a thing or
God,
two.
please.
Daddy knows a thing
Oh,
or two.
please.
Oh. Now, after all of this, can you believe last night she had the gall to show up at my door to my new apartment crying about having lost me and how bad things are for her and how nobody loved her, blah, 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 blah. Whoa. Not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. But what I was expecting, what I'm always expecting, is for you to listen to full episodes of stories just like this. That's what I always expect to happen, Dakota. Where do they do that?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from.
And what do they search,
All
Dakota?
you guys search is OK Storytime.
Search it, indulge for 10,000 hours straight. I'm going to look up and see how many hours of podcast content we have because I know it's ridiculous.
I just got way sadder for the ex-wife.
So as we come to a close here, just putting a bow on this story before we still have the end, we don't know what's going to happen.
I said, Keon, I got a lot sadder for the ex-wife after that last desperately showing up at your ex-husband's door saying you lost him and no one loves you. And then he goes, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I feel bad for her because she has worked herself out of the marriage she probably needed.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe she has, maybe I'm digging too deep, maybe I'm crazy, but maybe she has some self-esteem issues around all of this stuff. And that's why, like you
I
said,
would
she was
bet.
projecting it back.
I bet every dollar I've
Yeah,
ever made
and
in
I
my
think
entire life.
It
that
probably
is
just when she had that conversation, or that she overheard the conversation those guys were having.
Yeah.
And seeing those guys again, it triggered something inside of her that she probably just dug away or put away, and boom,
Yeah.
came back with
Yeah.
a flurry of emotions and a flurry of other things.
She just needs, she really needs therapy. She needs help.
But yeah, let's say we close this one out, boys.
Let's finish it
let's
off.
take her home.
Let's take her home.
Hey, all she would have to do was, right after the argument we had, was say any of these things, and I would have stuck it out and tried my best to move forward with her. But between that argument and knowing that she has slept with half the town again in the past 3 months, I just have nothing left for her.
It was fair enough.
I told her that I was sorry it didn't work out, but we are now officially divorced and she just needs to move on. The waterworks started flowing, and I actually believe she was having something mentally wrong with her because she was almost hysterical. I called her dad to come and get her and walked her to his car. I told him what happened, and I think he was actually trying to take her to get a mental evaluation at the ER. I harbor no hatred for her. I hope she gets help, but we are over and we both just need to move on.
Yep.
I think
That's
that
it.
final sentence kind of sums up
That's it.
everything.
That final sentence was what happened to me when you were reading the tagline. It was me realizing, oh, wait, I don't actually hate this woman, and she's kind of also a victim of herself.
Yeah.
And it's just made it. I was like, oh, this is actually way more complicated. I guess I just hope she gets help.
I feel for her, but that doesn't alleviate her of her responsibility.
Correct.
Of how her feelings project on others,
Right.
Her past.
Yeah.
All of that.
Also, sounds like dad needed to be more on top of the mental health. I don't know.
He's getting involved now.
I don't know.
I'll say at least that.
we
you
don't
know,
at
know.
least
We
that.
can't just jump to conclusions because we don't know the extent of what people knew and
Yeah.
what she told and all that.
Because maybe he was.
Feels like dad knew.
I don't know.
Feels like
man.
dad knew, which is why he called the husband. He's like, please, take
this,
her back.
No.
This only spun out
No.
after.
They got divorced.
So maybe if he was like,
But this is not the first spin out.
We don't know that.
You know, she spun out.
he said they were good before in the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about in the relationship. I'm talking about pre-relationship.
Oh,
Dad probably saw the OG Wild Times.
could be.
Again,
And
we
dad
don't-
was
we
like,
don't
no,
know.
we cannot
We
do
do
this
not know.
again.
Yeah.
She's a full-grown adult woman who was married. No. No. Take her back. That's what he said. He's like, no, please, I don't want to have to take care of her anymore. You take care of her. That's
I
what you're
think
for.
it could have gone either way. I don't know if the dad.
That was the vibe to me.
That could have been good. Dad could have been bad.
Dad was like, she's your
Oh.
problem now. You have to take care of her.
If you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you
And see you tomorrow.